our very first attempt at making an AR poster using Adobe Aero, and this is how we did it.
So we were given this brief to create an AR poster for our friend Hamza's upcoming fight. Once we had a plan, we got Hamza in the photo studio and got some photos and video using the same lighting setup. Then it was over to my colleague Oscar to design this brilliant poster, and then we were ready to get it into Adobe Aero and put the AR together. Once you've downloaded Aero, you can start a new file and just name it Hamza. And here's our workspace. So just to explain a little bit about what's going to happen here, at the moment obviously we've got a 2D poster we've designed, and I'm going to import that here. So Aero's asking me for an anchor. Basically it wants to recognise either a surface, so you've got horizontal surface, vertical surface, or an image, and in our case it's going to be our poster. So if I click image, it's going to want me to find the image it wants Aero to recognise to activate the AR. So here's our poster, and when I import it, it will show it here. I'm just going to zoom in a bit. You've got these three tools here for changing the view of what you're working on. So I can use the dolly here to come in closer, and this one just allows me to change the angle. So obviously that looks duller, but this is, at the moment, this is just a guide. So the next stage is to start adding elements in over this design. So basically we're going to recreate the poster, if you like, but this time we're going to have the elements moving and a little bit 3D. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to show you an example I've already done. So here's the one I made earlier, and you can see I've added all the elements over the top of the original poster, and you can see it's 3D, and if you've got an edit mode, which I'm in at the moment, but if you go to preview you can see how it works. So the animation I've created kicks in, and if I go to the extreme view you can see how some of the elements are coming out further from the poster just to add a 3D effect. So that's what we're aiming for. Now let me show you how I did that. To import the elements into the design, we just go to File and Import, and I'm going to navigate to the glass animated GIF that I've got for the background. I created this animated GIF in After Effects, so I'm going to open that. And the first thing you're going to notice is that GIF is on a different axis to our poster. So if I come down here, I can change the rotation 270 on the X value, and I'm going to want it centered. And you'll notice at the moment the image is hidden behind our poster. If I bring this up slightly, see that it appears. For whatever reason, I was setting stuff to 0.2 or 0.3 to just get it above the poster, and obviously I'm going to need to scale that as well, so I'm just going to use this arrow slider here to scale it up, and I'm doing that by eye. And there's our first element in. You'll notice at the moment the animated GIF isn't moving. Even if I go into preview, it's not moving, and that's because I haven't programmed it to move, and I will show you how to do that now. So you'll notice here there's this little running man here, and that's called Behavior Builder, this man here, and you have to tell the animation to start when the person first scans the image with their phone. So I'm going to add a trigger, and you get different options here. You can actually do amazing things like create buttons to start the animation, and proximity enter and exit. I think that's if the person viewing with their phone is a certain distance from the object, but for our one we just wanted to start as soon as someone gets into the AR experience. So the action is, and this is a little bit, I found a little bit confusing, the action is to play images rather than play animation. I think that's where people are importing like 3D animations or other animation files, but because ours is an animated GIF, it's play images. And if I go into preview, you'll see that it plays the animation and then it stops. That's because if we go back into edit, we need to hit, it's got a play count there of 1, which is going to make that infinite, so it just keeps going and going. So fast forward, and I've basically added everything in the same way. I've added the trigger to Hamza boxing, and all the still images you don't need to add a trigger because obviously they're just there. But I will just show this when you're positioning, so you'll notice that some of the objects come out further from the poster than the others, and that's just changing this Y position up here. So I'll just give you an example there with that red tab. The finishing touches I wanted to add to the experience was having some shards of glass, these shards here, flying out of the poster and over the shoulder of the viewer. And if I go to preview, you can see it right at the start. And the way I did that was, so I added my shard, and that's just a PNG, and then I added a trigger, so start, and then when you've got your object in there, you can add the properties. So these coordinates here of where you want the piece of glass to end up, so these are flying out like over 2 meters out of the poster, so hopefully coming over the shoulder of the viewer. I did run into a few troubles when I was doing these shards. I found I wanted the functionality to repeat the shards coming out during the experience, but I couldn't find it on there. It might just be me, but I couldn't see that functionality. The only way it was going to do it is if it was kind of sort of coming back and forth, which I didn't want. I didn't want to be able to see it boomeranging back in. So that was a bit of a shame, but I mean, maybe that's just because Aero's at beta stage and they're going to sort of introduce other stuff later on. But yeah, and I mean, in general, I think Aero was a little bit glitchy as well. There were a lot of times when I tried saving stuff and it just didn't recognise the save or the changes, to the point where, I mean, for these shards example, I sort of had to stop trying. Basically, it just wouldn't upload new shards. It was a bit frustrating. But anyway, so this was the stage we got it to when we were happy, and then it was just a case of sharing the video. So if I click share, and you get your QR code there and a link, and then if people scan that, they're going to either be prompted to download Adobe Aero, or if they've got it already, it would just open and say, you'll get a picture saying I'm looking for this image, the image of the poster, and then they get the experience. So then it was just a case of getting the poster printed on our brand new Agfa Oberon, and then we took it over to Hamza in his boxing gym to share the experience.